Welcome to Right On with Tom Fallwell, a bi-weekly podcast focusing on interviews, novels, reviews, and upcoming releases from indie authors. Now, here's Tom.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode 14. Today I have with me author D.H. Gibbs, and I will be talking to her in just a bit. I have a couple of reviews to share with you today and some announcements. So get a cup of coffee, sit back, and enjoy the show. Before we get started, let me tell you about one of our fantastic sponsors. C.G. Blade's pseudoverse novels are a sarcastic look into mankind's race to develop the first conscious artificial intelligence and achieve singularity. The problem is that most of the runners in this race are sadistic, hell-bent on destruction of DNA as we know it, and have a fondness for those missing a Y chromosome. Why, you ask? From cobalt to crimson to emerald, this is one wild, mysterious roller coaster ride as a hidden puppet master is slowly but surely gaining ground on humankind. CG's newest novel, Onyx, goes back 26 years before Cobalt and explains the beginning of it all. Will humanity finally become steady? Tropa is all around us now as heliotrope starts to take shape. We hope you enjoy this little slice of science fiction heaven which fuses historical science fiction, satire, horror, and plenty of hidden Easter eggs along the way. Join us in liberating the pseudos from Pseudosynth Press Publishing. There's a special announcement today. I wanted to tell you that we have moved the podcast episodes to YouTube. You can now on YouTube go to a playlist that I've created there on my YouTube channel, and you can find all the past podcast episodes there. You can embed these in your own websites or wherever you want, just like any other YouTube video. So just to find the latest, come to the website, but to see anything in archived, you can go to the YouTube channel and find everything there. I have a couple of book reviews for you today. The first is from a science fiction novel written by Dean C. Moore called Sentience. After that, a review of The Rights of Erdron, written by Newland Moon. Sentience by Dean C. Moore is a thought-provoking and good read. An artificial intelligence escapes virtual reality into the real world and proceeds to conquer not just the world, not just the galaxy, not even just the universe. He sets his sights on nothing less than the entire multiverse, a psychological tale of philosophical realities, universal transcendence, and of becoming. At times, the deep thought processes of sentience go deep into the psyche of both man and machine, blurring the boundaries of what makes intelligence intelligent and what makes humans humane. The definitions of life, sentience, and emotion are blended into a runaway fury of mental exercises, both physical and virtual. While sentience may be confusing to less intellectual types, if you are a hardcore science fiction fan, you should find this an enjoyable read. There is humor, drama, twists, romantic desire, you name it. Dean C. Moore has created a universal villain that is likely more human than he wants to admit. I would recommend Sentience to hardcore science fiction fans.
Rights of Erdron, Book 1 by Newland Moon. Reader's favorite 5-star review by R. Dizimo. A beautiful blend of science fiction and fantasy, Rights of Erdron by Newland Moon is the kind of opening readers want for an engaging series. Zorans is a character readers will love, a bastard prince, scorned and derided as the unclaimed, and one destined to save his people and restore the health of his planet. He'll have to understand a shady past, discover a prophecy that has been long forgotten, and find the right allies if he's to be recognized as the legitimate ruler of his world. First, he must be healed from a disturbing illness and understand why he's irrepressibly drawn to the Earthling, Itanya, and why she has such a powerful effect on him. The entertainment in this epic tale is huge. I enjoy stories that start in the midst of action, and Rights of Erdron is one such book. The reader gets a feel for the agony the protagonist suffers. Zoran's plea to Radrin already suggests that the conflict will be huge, and it turns out to be so. The plot is woven with intricacies, a cast of solid characters littered across a beautiful setting, a plot infused with intense action. The idea that the protagonist gets treated like an outcast is captivating, a perfect allusion to the biblical image of the rejected stone that became the cornerstone. Newland Moon has a gift of integrating strong themes like love, friendship, loyalty, faith, and redemption into a beautiful story in a seamless manner. The writing is flawless, crisp, and tight, with vivid descriptions that capture the intense action excellently. You'll be pulled in, and it will be hard to take your eyes off these characters. Rights of Airdron, Book 1, by Newland Moon.
Be sure and check the podcast page for the link to these fine books. Well, it's time we bring in our special guest. I was able to talk with her at length, and the following is my interview of D.H. Gibbs. I have with me today author D.H. Gibbs, who has a couple of books we're going to be talking with her about today. I'm going to get started here with her and let her tell you a little about herself. Her name is Desiree, so please welcome D.H. Gibbs. Say hello.
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy here to be with Tom. This is really exciting for me because this is like my first ever podcast interview. So I'm just happy to be here.
It's always good to be the first.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us a little about how you got started being an author and what made you take the indie author route?
Well, I've always written stories. So when I was in high school or secondary school, because that's what we call it where I come from, my friends and I would write short stories. We would do a lot of fan fiction. So writing was something I've always done. However, being a creative person, I initially chose to do art at first before I decided to end up writing. It was only like a few years ago when I decided, I really wanted a career change. I went back to writing and I realized that, hey, this is something I really love and this is something I really want to do. So I decided to start writing again, and once I started getting my stories on paper, I always tell people that my stories stalk me. They follow me around. I'm serious. They stalk me. Once they get in my head, they never leave me alone until I put them down on paper. So I started writing my stories, and I decided, okay, well, now that my stories are written, I need to get published. For me, because I am in the Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago, going the traditional publishing route was not the best option for me, as most of the publishers in Trinidad and Tobago, they operate more like a vanity press. Mm-hmm. So I said I would try the indie route and see how that goes and see if that was a better choice or option for me. And it's been working really well so far.
Good to hear. Yeah, I was wondering how difficult it is to get into being an author in some place like in the Caribbean, in Trinidad. I bet it's got to be a lot harder than it is here in the United States.
It is. I mean, you have to consider, because the Caribbean is very culture-based, we are very steeped in the way we do things here. Mm-hmm. A lot of the times, if you are a writer of science fiction or fantasy, people don't always choose that preference. Mm. So a lot of the publishers locally would prefer to have books that are locally inclined rather than the general, fantasy stories or science fiction or romance or stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that was also another reason why I chose the indie route, because I didn't only want to write books that was Caribbean based. I wanted to choose a wide variety because, as you can see, I'm a multi-genre author, so I write whatever story stokes me.
Okay. Well, they tend to stalk us all. I know that.
Yeah.
They demand to be written in a way.
Yeah.
In the audience that you're really kind of targeting is really not in your area. Then it's more of a targeting in people in the English speaking countries, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
In that in itself, do you find many opportunities to do live events like book signings or anything?
No. I would work. What I have done so far, and I've only done this through with my children's stories.
Mm-hmm.
I have visited the various libraries that it has locally, like a few of them, and I had book readings with the kids. And, if you look at my kids page, you would see some of the videos and the pictures of me with the kids and the stories. What I'm now beginning to do through my local library is meet with some of the book clubs that they read a more mature audience than the children. So I'm now starting to meet with some of the book clubs to see how it works and what they think about my book and stuff. So that's the next step for me locally.
All right. Well, that sounds pretty interesting. Doing book readings with children. That sounds like it'd be a lot of fun.
It was, and it was so interesting where the kids started shouting out what's going to happen in the story. It's hilarious. And, they were interested in the images in the book, and they're like, yes, I knew it. And it's so much fun. It is.
I bet. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about this book that you wrote? It's labeled as a dark fantasy called Nika. Is that pronounced correctly?
Yeah, it's Nika.
Okay.
And it's a fantasy. It's based on an orphan, and basically she was living what we would call a regular urban life, and one night after work, this guy shows up and kidnaps her and takes her to the island of Shachatka. And on this island, she discovers that she has this whole family lineage that she knew nothing about.
Okay.
And she also discovers her abilities and why she is the way she is when she gets to the island. And of course, when your quest starts, it starts, and she has choices to make. She has to decide if she wants to help these people who needs her. And, in addition to that, she also discovers that she has a twin brother, and unfortunately, he is the enemy. So the rare family that she now discovers after being alone for so many years, she now has to decide, well, he's the enemy, and I may just have to kill him to save these people that really need my help. So that's basically the initial story of Nika.
Okay.
And the second part of that series should be released in October this year.
Oh, okay. So there's a sequel coming.
Well, yes, it's a 3-part story. So the sequel is coming out this year in October. And I'm hoping to get the 3rd part done very soon.
Well, that's good to know, and we'll tell our listeners here just to keep an eye out for that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because I'm going to have some giveaways with that one.
Okay. What inspired you to write this story? I mean, was this something that you just had in mind for a while, or did it just suddenly come to you?
Nika popped in my head one night, and every night before I fall asleep, she would add more and more to the story. And the story was just building and building every night. Before I go to bed, the story started playing through my mind of what happened with her, what's going on with her family, her friends, the people that she meets. And I'm like, this story is not going away. This story, as I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to write it. And I did. I started writing it, started typing it up. The story started building. I built the backstory on her parents and what happened with her mother. And it became a novella. And I said, what I did with this first book, it was really condensed so that everyone could get a general idea of the foundation of the book.
Mm-hmm.
And then in book 2, the sequel, I built more of the world and what the life is like and what's happening there and the fight and the struggle and, so the first book, Nika, is really a foundation book. It's really like an introduction to the story. So that's what happened. And I wrote it as a novella because I really wanted to test the waters to see, what people thought about the book and how they felt about it. And, if they found the story interesting, if they liked where the idea was going. And it was pretty well received.
Okay. So it's a quick read, but sounds very interesting. And this new book coming in October, is that going to be bigger, or is it still a novella?
Yeah, it's going to be bigger. It's not a novella.
Okay.
It's approximately right now. It's approximately like 54,000 words.
Okay.
So it's not huge where I got to 80,000.
You're into full novel territory now. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't. The third book I may hit 80,000, but I'm like, okay, 54,000 words is pretty big for me. So I was like, yes, this is it. I have arrived. So the second book is a full book. There's no short in this one.
Okay. Well, that sounds interesting, and I've actually already added that to my to-read list. So
Fabulous.
So it sounds good. I'm a big fan of fantasy and especially young adult stuff too. So.
Oh, great.
You got another book. This one is a romance, it looks like.
Yes, it's a sweet romance story.
Also a short story.
Yes.
A Touch of Kindness. Tell us a little about that.
I wrote this story because there's so many things going on in the world, and there's so many things happening with people out there, and I felt that people need to realize that even though there's bad stuff going on, there's also some goodness in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And this is basically a sweet story. Marley is the name of the main character, and she basically helped this guy out one day by accident. She was walking through the park and she saw him in distress and she helped him out. And they became friends, and as time go along, she realized that she realized that he has a secret side, and he basically kept being friends with her because she was this good Samaritan person and he wanted to know more about her. And the whole story is based on her one act of kindness. And what it leads to and how one act of kindness could affect so many people. And you never know how your random act of kindness could help someone, could save someone, could protect
Okay.
someone. And that's basically what this story is about.
That sounds good. I like
Yes.
that. So these books that you've written, have you in marketing them on, have you been just using like social media for marketing for yourself, or have you used a PA or anything like that to try to get sales?
I haven't graduated to PA status yet. I'm going to get there eventually, probably next year. Actually considering PAs right now is just that, you have to plan a budget when you are in the publishing. I've basically used mostly social media. I've done a couple of Facebook advertising. And that's generally it. Mostly like author takeovers and guest spots, interviews with blogs and stuff like that. So that's as far as I've gotten so far, with the marketing.
How have you found the indie community, like on Facebook, to be? Was it helpful? Plenty helpful.
Yes, I think the indie community is an amazing community. They're very open, they're very helpful. They're always willing to provide information if you ask someone a question. I have learned a lot through a lot of indie authors, and there are some really amazing gems out there that's really supportive. And I think that the community itself is a solid foundation that everyone is building. Once in a while you will get someone who is not meshing with everyone else, but overall it's great. It's a really great community, and they are always willing to help. They're always willing to support each other. And it's an experience that I would recommend to anyone.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I've met a lot of people in here. Now I know someone in Trinidad even. So.
Yes.
Something I was wondering about was what did you read growing up, or just even in your adult life? What books, authors did you like to read, and which ones inspired you?
Well, when I was younger, I read a lot of books by Carolyn Keene, a lot of Nancy Drew, a lot of Hardy Boys, Famous Five, Enid Blyton books. I guess that's why children's book I write is kind of mysterious as that. And of course, as most females would tell you, I completely devoured a lot of romance books during my teenage years, which would have been Daniel Steele, Harlequin books, a lot of those. As I grew older, I still continue to read a lot of YA. Recently, I have read a lot of Sarah J. Maas, a lot of Presley Cole, J.R. Ward, Laurel K. Hamilton.
Who would you say your favorite author is?
Right now?
Yeah.
I think right now it's a tie between Sarah J. Maas and Presley Cole.
Okay.
Because I've read so many Presley Cole books, and I've read all of Sarah J. Maas books. Because especially as Sarah J. Maas, she is the genre I'm catering to right now. So I could kind of relate to a lot of her stories, especially as a writer. But with Cressy Cole, it's a more mature audience, so it caters to mostly my age group, I suppose. But she has the fantasy and everything that I like. So I read a lot. I'm fantasy is my main, but I would read almost anything once it's fiction and non-religious based.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I may try those, but those are not my preference. But mostly anything fiction, because spy books, conspiracy theories. Once I'm sucked in, I'm sucked in.
Okay. So you were weaned on the mysteries, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I was.
Yeah, mystery's a good thing to have, even if you're writing pretty much any genre. It's good to know some mystery. That's what pulls people in.
Yeah, and yes, and in my stories, I do, even though they are fantasy or romance or kids, I do incorporate a little bit of mystery in there. There's always something where you have to question what's going on and pull the clues together. Because in Nika, I dropped a lot of Easter eggs about book 2 and book 3.
Okay.
So if you read the book and you find the egg, you're going to question, it's like, okay, so what's going to happen? And then you find out, okay, this clue was in book 1, and you discover what happened with it in book 2. So
okay.
I do incorporate a bit of mystery in there.
How I saw that you're an artist, right?
Yes, I am.
And did you do the cover for your book, Nika?
Yes, I did the cover for my book, Nika. I did the cover for A Touch of Kindness. I did the cover for the 2 children's books as well.
Okay.
And the illustrations for the children's books as well.
Okay. Now, they're pretty nice. That's good work.
Thank you.
Do you do any of that for other authors? I mean, do you help them create covers or?
I've never thought about it. I've never been asked, so
okay.
It's not something that I've ever thought about. So it's never come up.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure if somebody wants me to do a cover for them, I could work something out based on their genre, my capabilities and schedule. But it's not a problem for me to help somebody out if need be.
Okay. All right. Do you have any plans for traveling out of Trinidad, coming to the United States maybe in the future?
Yeah, I have been to the United States. I got my college degree in the States. My dad lives there with my 3 brothers, and I visit on occasion when I can.
Okay. Well, maybe you can start getting in some of these conventions.
Well, I have thought about it, but I would have to plan a whole year in advance for me to get to a convention.
Yeah.
You know how you have to book the time and scheduling and everything. So
yeah.
I suppose maybe within the next couple of years, I'll probably hit a convention and see what it's like just for the experience.
So what are your plans for beyond the Nika series?
I actually have a lineup for the next 2 years. Besides some additional children's book and book 3 in the Nika series, the Shachatka series. I have another short I'm working on right now.
Okay.
But that's not fantasy. And then I'm going to start another 3-part series once I get that short out of the way. And that one would most likely be based on Greek mythology.
Okay.
So
that's interesting.
One, yeah. I'm hoping that one comes out really good. So once I get plotting that, that should be after book 3 of the
Okay. Do you write what perspective do you usually write in? Third person, first person?
Yes, most of the time I'm in third person, but I'm ghost-writing a story for someone, and that one is in first person. So
Okay.
it's making me consider switching perspective right now.
Do you like one over the other? Prefer one over
Um,
the other?
I haven't decided yet. The
Okay.
third
Okay.
person, for me, uh, writing in the third person for me allows me to give the reader a perspective of different characters. So
Mm-hmm.
you'll get a perspective from Nika, you'll get a perspective from Damian or Alexi,
Mm-hmm.
But and stuff that's happening in different points in time and in the book, it allows you to do that, right? Because I could write in book 2, I wrote you get to find out what's going on with Nika, but I also get to write from Nikolaj's perspective,
Mm-hmm.
where he's in the totem compound and you get to see what's going on there. And that's one of the things I like. And when you do that as a first person, you will have to switch first person point of view in order to incorporate that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure if I'm going to like that. I'll have to try it and see. But the story I'm ghostwriting is only from one person's point of view. So
Yeah.
I don't have to think about the other character's perspective.
Okay. Well, we're going to run out of time, so I'm going to have to cut it off here, but I want to let everyone know that we will have a link on the podcast page to your author page on Amazon and also to the 2 books we've been discussing.
Yeah.
And they can see your other books there from the author page, your children's books. And just want to thank you for being on the show with me today and sharing with us all about your writing and about your books.
Thank you for having me. It was really fun, and I hope everybody, enjoy the podcast. Of course, I will be sharing like crazy.
Okay, well, that's what we need, more people listening.
Yep.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Tom. Thanks for having me.
Are you a new indie artist looking for a way to market yourself? Maybe it's time to go indie now. Go Indie Now is an online platform that highlights, fosters, and supports indie artists of all art forms. Our shows on YouTube do everything they can to bring an audience to what you're doing. So head on over to goindienow.com, find our channel on YouTube by searching Go Indie Now, all one word, and remember, it's always time to go indie now. We'll see you there.
That's it for the show today, and I want to thank you all for listening. Before I sign off, however, I want to encourage any fantasy or sci-fi authors out there to take advantage of the free promotion you can get on this podcast. If you are releasing a new book, I'd love to be able to announce that. Or if you have any special events coming up, online or off, I can tell all my listeners about that as well. Finally, if you have an excerpt from one of your books that you can make an audio recording of, I'd be happy to include it in one of the podcast episodes. But to do this, you have to tell me about it. So I've created some forms on my website to make it easy for you to do just that. Go to tomfallwell.com/podcast and you will see 2 buttons near the top of the page. One allows you to submit a request to be interviewed on Right On with Tom Fallwell. The other will take you to some forms you can use to submit your news or other items for the show. If you have a favorite review that we can put on the show, tell us about it. I can read the review for you, or you can provide an audio file for the review yourself. There is no cost for any of these services. That is free promotion for you and your books. I also like to have a book reading feature on the show, and would love for you to submit any book readings you may have at no cost. If you have an excerpt and would like us to create a professional reading for you, we can do that for a nominal fee. Just check out the available options by going to tomfallwell.com/podcast and browsing the pages there. Well, that's it. Don't forget to tell your friends about this podcast, and it would be great if you could subscribe to my YouTube channel so you won't miss a single episode. So until next time, ride on.